My mother-in-law called the cops on me after a false accusation.
Yeah, no, he totally did it.
And trigger warning here, physical altercation. It's been a long gosh dang month. My fiance's grandparents, future mother-in-law's parents, both had pretty scary falls in the last month, and we've all been taking turns making 250-mile trips down to help and visit them. It's been stressful. By the way, this comes from Irish Cream the Nerd, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We're just going to guess what we would do in this situation, so let us know what you would do in the comments. So, OP says, next month, Fiancé and I have a trip planned to go out of the country for a week to see my grandparents, who are older and I haven't seen them in years. The plan was to have Fiancé's kid brother, 17 male, take care of our pets while we were gone. They both knew of and agreed to this. Well, last night, future mother-in-law realized that if we're out of the country, they can't take a 3-day trip to visit mother-in-law's parents. According to mother-in-law, leaving kid brother by himself for 3 days is a hard no. So she announced that she was going to board the dogs. Fiancé took exception to this because our older dog is terrified of everyone outside of the household, and our younger dog is really bad at reading aggressive body language and will actively try to play with dogs that would tear her apart. This started an argument between Fiancé and mother-in-law, where mother-in-law accused Fiancé of not caring about her own grandparents. Things got heated, but I convinced my fiancé to retreat with me into our room. Things seemed to cool down for a bit, but when I ran downstairs to grab fiancé's Switch so we could go hide out at my apartment, mother-in-law was still ranting, saying that she wished she never had my fiancé, and she was mad at Kid Bro for attempting to bail from the argument and accused him of siding with them, and was saying some of the most unhinged crap imaginable.
This has gone way too extreme, way too fast.
Yeah, dude. I don't think it was ever that serious. I tried to gently defend my fiancé because, frankly, she's put her whole life on hold for a decade to support her mom and brother. Mother-in-law kept telling that fiancé is not her daughter. Eventually, the fiancé got sick of hearing things and started yelling back at her mom. Mother-in-law called her a witch. Fiancé returned the sentiment, and at that point, mother-in-law yelled that I should control my stupid witch because mother-in-law is going to hit her in her stupid effing face.
Hey now. I'm pretty sure that
Is a threat of assault.
I believe it is. Mother-in-law went back to her room, still yelling, with my fiancé yelling back. I tried to convince mother-in-law that my fiancé and I had been hiding for almost an hour while she was still ranting, and that we weren't the ones pushing the argument. Eventually, she snapped and yelled, "I'm going to get that witch! And our little dog, too!" and attempted to sprint past me down the hallway. I interceded and stood between her and my fiancé. Mother-in-law pushed and shoved and tried to squeeze past me in the hallway. She nearly made it too, but I picked her up and put her back down on the other side of me. She then announced that she was going to call 911, which I invited since no violence occurred. Well, I got shoved and then she got mildly restrained, but no one was hurt. She yelled at the 911 operator on speaker so me and fiancé could hear and interject. Demanded someone get out there because her daughter was verbally abusing her, and the 911 operator was getting frustrated with her.
Hey, she's going to get arrested for making an improper call to 911. That's
Right.
so funny.
Right. Eventually, she hung up, and minutes later, the cops showed up. Thankfully, I knew one of them from work and explained everything I typed out above. Mother-in-law talked to his partner outside. Apparently, my fiancé, who was hiding under her bed, was watching on the Ring camera and watched her mom straight up lie to the cop. They advised us that since no one was injured, mother-in-law claimed that I broke her thumb, but it obviously isn't broken, that we should just try to avoid each other and let things settle. After they left, fiancé and I hid in our room while mother-in-law bomb texted her about how I'm an evil danger to the whole family. Yesterday, I broke her thumb. Now she's texting fiancé that I harmed her in the hallway. I didn't. I'm so effing heartbroken over this whole thing. I've been with Fiancé since high school. I clean the house. I do all the chores. I'm designated driver. I fix the cars. I fix the computers. I help little bro with his homework. I have given so much of myself to this whole family. I help mother-in-law with her extremely evil ex. They frequently comment that I'm too nice because I always stop to help anyone I'm in a position to help. But apparently, now to mother-in-law, I'm an evil beaster who's unsafe to be around because I wouldn't let her hit her daughter. F my life, man. Fiancé says I should have just let her mom hit her in the face because then we could just go back to everything being normal. Oh my God. That's terrible. We do have an update, but no. That's not
She's like,
right.
yeah, I've been training.
I'm ready. Update. We have been hiding out at my apartment hoping things would cool down. To absolutely no one's surprise, they haven't. We took whatever we could that we didn't want mother-in-law breaking or leaving out on the street and left while she was at work. There had been radio silence through part of her workday, with the odd, still really mean jab thrown Fiancé's way via text. Mostly stuff about how I'm horrible and how Fiancé deserves to be with me. Deserves to be with me, and she, mother-in-law, can't wait till I harm her. Oh my God. Also, that I'm apparently an enabler who does everything for the fiancé and made her helpless. Jeez. Apparently, all those chores I've been doing at mother-in-law's house, so it wouldn't all fall on my fiancé, was part of some massive evil scheme. Of course, everyone knows that. We see right through you, OP.
Wow.
How dare I do basically every household chore for no pay and no recognition? How dare you?
Yeah, it's like, in one breath, she's like, you're the worst, and like, you're going to harm her, and then also you do everything for her, and she never has to do anything, so she's helpless. It's like, pick one.
Yeah. Also, mother-in-law's story has changed again. Now, I've apparently hit her, threw her against a wall multiple times, and harmed her relentlessly. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Dozens of pestering texts aside, we got a call from little bro sobbing because mother-in-law wanted the password for the house's Ring camera, and ironically, in her attempts to get in, locked Fiancé, who was the keeper of the app since she was home most frequently, completely out. So now nobody's in them. She forced Kid Bro to call us, demanding whatever two-factor code was supposed to be sent to Fiancé for the security camera. The one that did come didn't work. She shrieked at him, demanding to get a code we weren't receiving. Anytime he tried to defend us, she threatened to call CPS on herself to get him taken away to foster care. Oh my God.
At this point, if I'm just leaving. If I'm him, I'm gone.
That's
like,
crazy.
that's fine. I'm going to go stay with my friend.
I feel like that needs to be like, yeah, I think he needs to go stay with OP and the fiance at the apartment now. Like, it's so unsafe. It's also unsafe. Anytime he contradicted her version of events, she badgered him, telling him what he saw and heard and thought until he agreed, trying to stop the torment. I recorded the whole dang call. I am not interacting with mother-in-law, even tangentially, without recording from now on. Fiancé and I were distraught because little bro begged us to come back and pick him up multiple times, but every time he asked, things escalated further. And we're worried mother-in-law would call us kidnappers if we picked him up. Well, I feel like if you have the calls of this, like, 17-year-old sobbing, asking for you to come pick him up to get away from someone, like, I feel like that's enough. You see stories of, like, kids calling the cops on their parents or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
that combined with his own testimony, I'm sure if the cops showed up being like, did you steal this child? He'd be like, no, I asked them. She's the worst.
He's old
Please
enough.
don't make me go back there.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd be like, oh, okay, we'll put your mom in jail.
Right. She doesn't want me around little bro because I'm dangerous. Despite the fact that I've effectively helped raise him, am an authorized pickup for everywhere, and am basically the whole family's emergency contact, and am his best friend. Shoot, I crammed 2+ decades of Pokemon knowledge into his head since he was 6. So yeah, life still sucks, but I think Fiancé is getting more committed to this whole moving out and cutting off contact to the degree that we can without screwing over Kid Bro thing. So there's a little progress. Now we just need to figure out how to get our remaining pets out of the house without things somehow getting worse. And we do have a second update now. Oh my goodness. But before we get into that, what are your thoughts so far?
What kind of evil laboratory was this mother cooked up in?
Yeah.
She seems like a project of some sort of mad scientist to create the worst woman alive.
Honestly, would imagine that just like the stress of everything is kind of getting in the way, but I feel like you don't need to be scared about what will happen if he's 17 and you go get him. Like, you might be called a kidnapper, but I think legally you'll be fine.
Yeah, he needs to 100% get out of that house.
Yeah, he called you multiple times to beg. So I don't want to like blame you for not doing it yet, but I think like just, you can do it.
Yeah,
Try and give you that reassurance.
I would do it.
Yeah. Update number 2. Alrighty, so this is probably going to be a less satisfying post than you'd like. The last several days have been a roller coaster to say the least, but overall things are trending towards cooling down. First and foremost, mother-in-law's thumb is bruised up pretty bad. I don't think it's broken, considering she hasn't gotten any x-rays or anything. Best I can figure is when she tried to shove past me, I leaned into the wall to prevent her from getting to Fiancé, and I effectively squished her against it. Anyways, I feel bad that she does have any injury. Mother-in-law, little bro, and fiance went down for 2 days to help mother-in-law's parents, and I was unbanned from the house so I could take care of the pets. Surprise, surprise, once I'm useful, the ban starts lifting. The only caveat being that I can't be there when mother-in-law is there, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
I think this is when you go grab your pets and take them to your apartment. I feel like this is the perfect time. While fiance was gone and I was left on my lonesome, things got pretty low. Being left alone with my thoughts to digest everything had made me pretty insanely depressed, which is extremely uncharacteristic for me. They fought on and off during the trip. Mother-in-law graciously didn't spin her tales to the rest of the family, likely because, again, I'm pretty dang useful and always check on them when I'm down there visiting my dad. Anyways, they came back. Fiancé stayed at the house overnight since they got back late. Yesterday, fiancé bopped back on over to the apartment with me, which she has been graciously helping to furnish, so it's not effectively a $2,000 storage unit for my reptiles.
Reptile.
And it feels a lot more like a home. I'm also, I think, unbanned from talking to little bro. I don't think mother-in-law's going through his phone anymore to yell at him over any texts between us. We got to play some of the new Pokemons together for a bit and did some shiny hunting. Fiancé has been careful not to downplay things and made it clear that she's not just trying to return to a semblance of normal, which was kind of the case immediately after everything happened. At this point, she's aiming for stable with the least amount of stress. Being at the apartment has been great for her. She's keeping her room over at mother-in-law's so she can support little bro, but still escapes to the apartment if and when things heat up. I know the general consensus is never talk to mother-in-law again forever, but low contact is honestly the best case I was able to predict. Mother-in-law's generally cooled off, but flip-flops frequently. She'll occasionally love bomb fiancé, saying she misses her best friend. She'll occasionally arbitrarily pick a fight or induce stress in fiancé because fiancé is picking me over her. She'll occasionally just ice fiancé out when fiancé is sad about the whole situation. Overall, I've resolved myself to only seek out the positive and shoot for the best possible outcomes based on whatever things I'm actually able to control. Fiancé is doing the same. Last night, some drama happened with mother-in-law's parents, and mother-in-law texted fiancé basically telling her fiancé and I can't go on our trip to my grandparents while drama is happening with her parents. Fiancé, rather than reacting purely out of stress, which is real growth for her, basically informed her mom that crap's never not going to be going down with her grandparents, and that if we wait for ideal conditions to go on our trip, then we'll never end up going. This was surprising to me because fiancé was the previous week becoming more and more committed to the idea of postponing the trip, which would have been very expensive. So it seems like we're going as planned, and my mom will come down here and take care of all the animals. And by the way, you can take care of us by listening to full episodes of stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime.
That's right.
That's all you got to do.
Hey, way to go, fiancé.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to the story, but yeah, way to go.
I mean, it's not always entirely feasible to be able to just go no contact and cut connection immediately. The ideal situation doesn't always happen. But yeah, clearly, mother-in-law's got some mental health complications.
Something.
And needs
Something, dude.
that to be addressed, which probably won't happen.
Yeah. We do have a little bit more to the story. When mother-in-law didn't get the reaction she wanted, she went radio silent for a bit. only to text back a few hours later that a benefit fiancé receives for living at home and helping with the little bro would need to be informed if she was officially moving out, which is ridiculous. Fiancé hasn't spent more than a week at the apartment. She gets all her mail to the house and still has a room there.
And you don't need to inform her or do any of that.
Yeah.
That's not, what are they, it's like you move out and like what the police are going to show up and be like, actually you have to live there because you didn't tell her.
Right. It's like, no. Fiancé's primary residence will remain the house until little bro comes of age and that benefit expires. So it was mostly just mother-in-law attempting to induce stress over nothing.
Yeah.
And that is the end of that story.
She's trying to power play. She's just a button presser, a lever puller,
Oh, yeah.
a wheel turner.
And she's like, whoa, I'm not pinball.
My in-laws refuse to be financially responsible, and I'm losing all my patience.
I cannot sit here silently anymore.
Ooh, I would be loud. My wife is from South America, and I'm European. We met when I spent 10 months in her hometown during a cultural exchange. We were 18 at the time and would both go to uni afterwards. After my cultural exchange, my then-girlfriend followed me to my home country where she obtained her degree. By the way, this comes from user Aimbox2. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Angie.
I'm Riley.
And we're here to give you good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. And OP says, we are now a happily married couple who have been living independently for about 5 years. My wife is 30, she has one brother, 28, and one sister, 16. Her whole family still lives in her home country. To add some financial context, the median income in my home country is around 1,800 euros after taxes. In hers, it's around $350 after taxes. Cost of living obviously differs a lot as well. On to the main problem. My sister-in-law, Anna, graduates in June and is supposed to start uni in September. We were worried, however, that there would be problems in organizing and paying for these studies, which is why we planned our holiday accordingly to see if we could be of any assistance. We're on holiday staying at her aunt's house right now. We arrived 2 weeks ago with one goal in mind: to make sure everything was in motion for Anna to start studying in September. After the first couple of days of usual greetings and storytelling of how our lives have been since the last time we came, about 2.5 years ago, my wife and I sat down with Anna to see what she would like to study. It turns out my parents-in-law hadn't really done anything yet to start preparing.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not doing it.
Rookie mistake.
They phoned it in. They had to say, you're the third kid. You figure it out, man.
You figured it out.
The last time they had touched the subject in December of 2017, it ended with my mother-in-law telling Anna, okay, just let me know when you have any idea on what you want to become. There has been zero guidance on helping her choose what or where to study. To make things worse, a lot of deadlines concerning registration and scholarships were due in February. To be honest, we kind of saw this coming, which is why the last time we were here on holiday, 2.5 years ago, we had a conversation with my in-laws expressing our concerns, both financially as well as when it came to parental guidance. So last week, we took it upon ourselves to once again touch the subject and express our concerns. The result is they do not have the necessary money to even pay for the first semester. Oh, before my wife and I are branded as D-bags for pressuring my in-laws into arranging this for themselves instead of helping them financially, here's some context. My wife's grandfather held a very good position during his lifetime. The entire family belonged to the local high society for about 40 years. Grandfather gave my in-laws the house they currently live in for free. Grandpa basically paid 80% of all bills my in-laws ever had. Gas, water, electricity, school bills. Until my wife was 18, she went to the quote-unquote best and most expensive high school in the region. My parents basically paid for half of the cost of my wife's education and all roof and food in my home country. The rest was covered by Grandpa, plus her and I working in our spare time. We never asked my in-laws for help as we managed to get by. But it did seem strange to us that they never offered anything. My father confided in me that he doesn't need or ever expects any money from them, but that it does make it a strange relationship between him and my in-laws. My in-laws have had their own quote-unquote companies for about 15 years. Basically, it's a place they go to pass the time, to pretend to do something. My father-in-law's income barely covers the rent, and his assistant's pay, yes, he has an assistant. My mother-in-law has a therapy office, so to speak. Think massages and prescribing weird teas to lose weight. On average, she has about 3 appointments per week, mainly her own family. Grandfather passed away about 7 years ago.
Oh.
He left the in-laws a substantial inheritance, $35,000 in cash, and a collection of terrains suitable for real estate, valued at about $500,000.
Wow.
For comparison, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house costs about $75,000 here. I personally apply a factor of 4 to translate local worth to our European standards. So basically a 2 million euro plus inheritance in European standards.
Wow.
In-laws have been slowly chipping away at this fortune, and in my opinion, wasting it, maintaining a lifestyle that was once possible with the huge income grandfather had, but is now simply unpayable with their nearly non-existent income. A couple of examples: wasting 1,600 euros, 5 times the local median monthly income, on an airline ticket so my brother-in-law could come visit us, when he clearly told his parents it was impossible for him to go as it fell in the middle of his uni exams.
Oh my gosh.
Celebrating their wedding anniversary in hotels that cost more than $300 per night, which is the median monthly income, buying all luxury brands for clothing, going to expensive supermarkets. They do this by selling off a certain asset below market value because they desperately need the money, and then spending it slowly but surely until they run out again.
Very sustainable.
Totally.
Every conversation we have had about this has been started by me in the following fashion. We are grateful for you allowing us to stay here with you during our holidays. I am, however, concerned about Anna's future, as I think her education will cost a lot of money, and I think it's best to start preparing so we don't end up in trouble. 2.5 years ago, they agreed that things weren't going as they should. There was a lot of crying involved, and we reached the conclusion that maybe they should start a project to elevate their income so it at least covers their daily expenses. The result was we spent weeks looking up info, creating a business model, and reuniting the family through Skype to do follow-ups, only to often get the answer of, "I haven't had the time," when asking my in-laws for an update. The project ended when I realized I forgot one of our Skype appointments, and instead of rushing home, I decided to test their motivation by seeing how long it would take for them to call me to check why I wasn't online yet. In-laws didn't call me that day, they didn't come online that day, and the entire project was never mentioned again.
They don't care. They're just doing this because you're upset about it. They're not upset.
They
Yeah.
don't care. Fast forward to last week. I again touched the subject when alone with my in-laws. They tell me it's none of my business and that everything will be okay. I tell them that I don't need or want a single penny from them or their inheritance, and that I'm willing to put that in writing, but that I'm concerned about their ability to pay for Anna's education, which they then confirm they can't afford it for the time being. I tell them I only want to help in the form of guidance, call it the European view of things, or even offer a loan if they're tight right now. Terrible idea.
Yeah, to these people?
That's money you'll never get back. By now, they're on the defensive, and my wife and brother-in-law have joined the conversation. It was during breakfast. I literally tell them multiple times we are only having this conversation because I want them to lead a happy and stress-free life, but that with the way things have gone since our last conversation, it's unlikely to happen once all the inherited money is gone. The conclusion: my mother-in-law literally told my wife and her brother they were being materialistic, which is funny because my brother-in-law is a minimalist vegan who has his own small martial arts dojo, kickstarted by my wife and me, and who gives free lessons to people who can't afford it while barely scraping by himself. This guy's got a Mojo Dojo Casa House,
He sure does.
and he gives it to the people. She almost literally told them that kids cost too much money and that my brother and my wife had prevented her from leading the life she had wanted for herself. She's extremely religious and without children would have probably ended up in a convent. She also said that she loves her entire family and that she wants to get along with everyone, but that she can't accept the fact that we are such ungrateful children.
Oh my gosh.
FYI, she is currently on non-speaking terms with half of her siblings because of a discussion over money. If it wasn't for Anna, this would have probably been the point where I would have gotten up, smacked them both in the face, and told them to go F themselves and to never contact any of us again, as I want nothing to do with such close-minded and hurtful people. Mind you, if you ask anyone in my circle of friends, they'll tell you I am one of the least impulsive and least emotional people they know. Of course we didn't do this, and we tried to keep our calm. Alas, my wife is very emotional and could no longer support the completely off-topic insults my in-laws kept throwing in our direction. My wife and brother-in-law abandoned the table and went to their aunt's house while I tried to reinforce our message. We are grateful, but very concerned and only want to help. The problem is Anna does still need a degree, and my wife and I cannot afford it, as the university that offers it is a private one and is way beyond what our jobs pay. Our in-laws keep telling us that it will be taken care of, but I have zero confidence in their financial insights. My wife and I would also like to start a family of our own, but we love her sister so much and want to help her in every way possible. We do not feel comfortable having children and not being able to provide them with the best because of this other burden that we will likely have to carry. Reason why I have zero confidence is I later found out that if my wife hadn't come to Europe with me, my in-laws would have sent her to one of the worst universities in the country because it was all they could afford. My brother-in-law had to change universities after 3 months to a relatively bad but free one because, again, it was all they could afford. It is not entirely impossible that they gather the necessary funds to pay for Anna's education, yet again selling something, but it is a 99% certainty that without accepting guidance, they will be without a penny once the medical bills start pouring in when they get older. They are barely 50 now and already using physical ailments as an excuse for many things that go wrong. It may seem selfish, but I'm not willing to lessen my own family's opportunities once we start one because of my in-laws' mismanagement, general laziness, and stubbornness. Had they been part of a poor community, I would give them everything I could spare so they could better themselves. But given the context, the current situation just seems absurd to me. And by the way, we have an absurd amount of full episodes with stories like this on your favorite podcast platform, whatever it is. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Just search OK Storytime.
Just do
And
it.
you can listen to over probably 1,700 hours worth of stories.
Yeah, probably so many. It'll get you through the end of the year at least.
Yep.
And then some.
At the very least.
Very least.
We have a little bit more story, but what are our thoughts, people? Do we have thoughts?
Dude, these parents are giving up. They're like, oh shoot, we had kids and I think we have to parent now.
Yeah, it's just I think you guys are so right in, like, you know, they're gonna get older. And when you get older, you start breaking down. Your body starts breaking down. You start going to the hospital, and that's expensive. You got to plan for the future, and they're not planning for the future at all. They're only thinking for themselves.
Yeah.
And are probably, you know, convincing themselves that this kid should, like, pay for her own college. When it's like, well, I mean, do what you got to do, but it seems like you can pay for this, but you're choosing not to. That's not fair.
Now, a couple of days after this conversation, my in-laws act as if nothing has happened. My wife and brother-in-law feel extremely disappointed, not only because our worry hasn't disappeared, but more so because of the extra things that were said. I've come to you for advice, as I haven't a clue on how to deal with our current family situation. The main problem is that my wife and I are worried about her sister's possibilities to obtain a higher education degree. Question, what can or should we do? And that's the end of that. On a real note, you know, there's plenty of ways to have a solid career without having to go to university, namely the trades. Learn how to speak real good, get yourself a little sales position somewhere. I don't know, but most of all, I think beyond going to school, whatever it is, Anna needs to have an idea of what she wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I mean, it's community college because they're in Europe, right?
I have no idea how higher education works in Europe. I do know it's a lot harder to get into. from what I understand.
I'm planning to shave my daughter's hair, and it made my mother-in-law furious.
That's a hairy situation.
I, female 33, am Hindu, and it is a custom in my religion for babies to go through a rite of passage by shaving their heads when they are typically 1 to 3 years old. It is extremely common in India since both Hindu and Muslim communities follow this practice with different traditions, albeit. By the way, this comes from AmITheAsshole Throwaway 18123, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We're just going to guess what we would do in this situation. So let us know what you would do down below. So OP says, as my husband is from the US and we have been married for 4 years. We're in India right now visiting family. 2 days ago, we were on FaceTime with his parents and mentioned that while we are here, we will have a ceremony, mundan, don't know if I'm saying that right, for our daughter, 3 female. They were excited, and mother-in-law even asked me to send photos. Everything was fine until my husband joked, "You'll finally know what Maya looks like as a baby." Maya was born with a full head of hair. Mother-in-law was confused, but when she learned about the shaving, she was furious. This was not even for religious reasons, since she knows my daughter is going to be raised Hindu. My husband's family are devout Christians, and my husband left the religion years ago. She has never expressed anger about this in particular, so it was not the reason for her outburst. She went on a tirade about how I was trying to, quote, unblack my daughter, my husband is black, and how I don't like my daughter's hair. She said I don't love her natural hair and have consistently tried to make it like mine, which is frankly not true. She also mentioned that I would start bleaching her skin soon since it's common with my people. Whew. This is completely baseless. Not only are we darker than her entire family, but this was completely out of the blue. I've done my best in my search for my daughter's hair care. I've visited many black-owned salons with my sister-in-laws and found the perfect one for my daughter. My husband researched hair care products for babies, and Maya's hair is very healthy. I've never heard any complaints from anyone. I even have a hair oiling tradition with her, something my mother and grandmother followed, and it has become a great bonding time for us. I wanted to share this with my daughter too. I can't even comment on the skin bleaching stuff. It is too ridiculous. Wild. The only conversation mother-in-law and I had before about Maya's hair was when she mentioned she wanted to get cornrows done and asked if Maya would get hers done too. She was 2 at the time, so I said no. I completely blew up at her after this. My husband was mad at his mom, but said that we should just have the ceremony on the down low with my immediate family and not post anything about it, since her hair would grow back when we go home. But I wanted her to have a big ceremony, and she was quite excited about it too. I'm also pretty hurt by mother-in-law's outburst since I had a good relationship with her. Father-in-law has been quiet since this happened, and the sister-in-laws are 19, so they can't say much. My family was in the next room while this happened, and they heard mother-in-law. She was that loud, and are mad at my husband. I don't know. This was supposed to be a fun trip back home, and it just spiraled into this. And we do have an update, but yeah, I feel like this is definitely a big outburst and does not need to happen. Very much an overreaction.
It's just like this feels kind of like a silly baby scenario.
Yeah.
Your mom's just your in-law, your mother-in-law is just being so ridiculous. It needs to be like, oh, is that what you're worried about? Well, you're being an actual silly baby.
Yeah.
So we're going to disregard you.
Yeah. Update. The ceremony was held yesterday, and I'm so glad I went through with it. Maya had the most amazing time with her cousins, and we made sure to get a priest who was also trained in shaving hair so she would be comfortable and not cry. The only time she cried was when everyone left. LOL. I'm so glad I didn't cancel, especially after reading that one comment saying that I was discriminatory for doing this ceremony for my daughter, especially since she's black too. I still don't understand the thought process behind that. We had a great day with our family, and Maya was thrilled to see her uncles, my brother and cousin, who also flew out from the US for the ceremony. But it seems like our day was too good, and mother-in-law called us screaming after seeing the pictures my relatives posted on Instagram. She wasted no time and revealed her real reason for being so against all of this. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What do we think it is?
I don't know. It really could be so many different things.
Yeah. Well, let's find out. Put your guesses in the comments down below. As many of you suspected, she was still resentful that my husband married a Hindu. She somehow expected me to raise my daughter Christian, which totally blindsided me. Wow. Father-in-law was also pretty much on her side. This time around, my parents also came and spoke to her because they did not like how she was talking to me, and my husband was being a complete wuss, leaving that for later right now. We kind of diffused the situation for now, and I'm so glad my parents are still there for me. Oh, and the most surprising part, sister-in-laws told me that mother-in-law had herself shaved her daughter's hair when they were toddlers, since no stylist would work with kids that young in their area.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's
Oh my
just all
God.
it is. It's straight up like, I want her to be black, not Hindu. She's both. You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah. My husband kind of remembered it too after they mentioned it. So she really had no problem with the hair shaving itself. I guess the resentment was just building up with Diwali and Holly. I mean, seriously, who gets mad at seeing their grandkid covered in colors? The most horrible thing was the skin bleaching comment. As someone who has been on the other side of it, it felt horribly awful that someone would outright say that I would have any role in it. What I'm most angry about is the audacity of her to call me up and scream about all of this. I might have responded better, maybe not kindly, but calmly, if she had just talked to me like a normal person. I don't even know if I want this woman around my kid anymore, but that's a problem for later. Everything felt so Indian soap opera-ish for me, so yeah, it's been a long day. And we do have a second update now. Let's go. Any comments before we jump right into that, though? How do we feel?
It probably warrants just a discussion of like, hey, that's really gross. And since our kid is Hindu and our kid is black, you're going to have to embrace both sides of that, because I won't have you othering your own grandchild.
Right. But update number 2. To preface, I'm Indian, my husband is African American, and my daughter is mixed race. I'm a practicing Hindu, and my husband was a Christian, but he left the religion about 12 years ago. His family still practices Christianity.
Yeah, that's definitely something they're upset about.
Yeah. Our daughter is being raised Hindu since he no longer practices the religion. I had a really bad conversation, or rather several, with my mother-in-law, and I do not want to have any contact with her anymore. I need advice on how to bring this up with my husband, and maybe even suggestions on how we can handle it. I later found out mother-in-law had shaved her daughter's hair when they were toddlers, since stylists would not work with kids in that young in that area. If it had ended there, I would have been willing to talk it out. But the next day, she called us and called me a satanic worshiper. I assume due to the polytheistic nature of my religion, I would never worship Shaitan. But she also called me a cow-worshipping freak. She apparently expected my daughter to be raised solely as a Christian, since her father was Christian. She also expressed distaste, I'm putting this mildly, about my daughter being bilingual, saying that it would be a secret code between her and my parents.
It's just crazy the level of like blindness there is here to like, or maybe not. Maybe she's not even blind to how racist this is.
She just knows. She's like, well,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, it's just, it's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
It's absurd. And
crazy.
it'd be like, if this is how you feel, it's like, we're not going to let you around our kid.
Dude.
So you
Yeah.
just, you hate half of your grandchild?
Yeah.
Right. I don't.
Bob's in Vagony. No.
I don't even know where she learned that from. When I first started dating my husband, I knew there would be cultural clashes, but I've always been accommodating of their traditions and celebrated with them. In fact, before Maya was born, we mostly celebrated their holidays while I went to the temple with other Hindu people in my area. My husband joined me sometimes, but his family never initiated anything after we got married. The only time I ever refused a tradition of theirs was when I declined to wear a white dress for a part of our wedding. In Hindu culture, white is worn at funerals, so it's considered inauspicious for a bride. We usually wear red. You usually / always can listen to full episodes of stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime. There is a little bit more to the story, but yeah, I don't remember how long they've been together, but obviously it's at least 3 years.
I think it's, well,
At least 4.
not looking good for mother-in-law's prospects of being a present grandma.
No.
Because, yeah, after this, unless I get like a full-throated, like, I was so in the wrong. Like, this is how I've changed. Like, this is what I think now. This is why what I said before was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust you to not, like, say something or do something to, you know, my child that might, you know, harm them.
Right.
You know?
I honestly find all of this completely unhinged. How does someone's brain even work like this? I cannot have any further contact with her, and I don't want my daughter to either. She is clearly discriminatory and has no respect for my religion. I don't know how to bring this up with my husband. Obviously, I won't stop him from visiting her since she's still his mom, but I don't want Maya around her. I also don't want to cut ties with his sisters since they're wonderful aunts to Maya. I am just really confused and exhausted, and that's the end of that story now. Yeah, good luck, OP. Try your best to talk to your husband about it. I think, you know, it's not just about the religion, it's about the, you know, discrimination, and we need to look at that. And I think bring that up to your husband of just like, hey, like maybe, you know, I'm sure you can understand that, like, you know, experiencing racism is not cool, and experiencing it from your family is going to be even harder. So,
Yeah.
hopefully he can understand. Maybe you can make some sort of compromise, or he can talk to your mother-in-law.
Yeah, there needs to be a united front on the understanding of why this is unacceptable.